Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another empowerment session here on Brosis Empowerment Night. Our guest tonight is noted past student of Rosse's High School, Richard Trench. Now, I will not bore you with anything else. I'll have Richard to tell us who is Richard Trench.
All right, good night, everyone. My name is Richard Trench. I went to overseas from 2006 to 2014, and then migrated to overseas to college. So I grew up in a small community 5 miles outside of Lucy called Chamberspen. So I grew up there, spent most of my life in the country. Went to school at Chamberspen all age, and then from there went on to Rosse's school. It was a privilege for me because I've had three aunts and three siblings that has gone to the institution, and also one of my aunt who was a teacher there as well. So for me, it's great experience to give back to the community of Rosse's and to everyone joining. I'm here and willing to share what I've grasped over the couple of years growing up.
Okay. Point question here, Richard. Where exactly are you?
At this current moment,
Mhm.
I'm in Tampa, Florida.
Okay. So, like many Jamaicans, you have somewhat sought to find a taste of what they call green pasture. Okay, but let me ask you a question though.
Right.
You grew up in Chambers Pen, and what school did you go to?
It was a small school, Chamberspen all age. So the year we graduated, it was probably like 6, 7 kids. So it's not a big primary school. So most probably throughout the entire year, there's probably what 30 to 50 students
At the entire school?
at the entire school. So it wasn't a big school, but it was very cohesive and good environment to grow up in.
Okay, and for persons who are not aware, Richard played football at Rosse's. We're not ready to get into that as yet. But let me ask the question. Whilst you were going to Chambers Pen, did you say all age or primary?
All age.
All age. Did you at that time have any idea that you would have been the sports person that you went on to become?
To be honest, really, I did not, because for most of the kids in Jamaica, when you were going to all age school, you try to get to school early so you can play cricket. So growing up, it was just cricket, cricket. I didn't know much about football then. I knew my brother played football. He used to take me to the field, but I never knew much about it because I never had the technology that kids have today that view those things. So I didn't even know about like D Cup or anything like that until I went to overseas. Because
Okay.
my life was in Chambers Pen, walk to school, walk home, and I see Lucy maybe once a week when I go.
So you, Lucy was like a big city.
Right. So going to Lucy then was like, you go into town, like you feel happy for that one day because you don't always go. So I didn't know much about like school in that area or.
So let me ask a question now.
Yes.
Whilst you said Lucy then was like a big city, was like Kingston. So at that time, what did you know about Rosse's High School?
At that time, what I knew, I had a brother and sister that was going to Rosse's at the time.
Okay.
So I knew that, and then I knew I had aunts that went to the school, and then growing up, it's like if you have siblings that goes to the school, it's like pushed out like, hey, Rossi's is the school to be, or so I knew of it in that scenario about the school, but I didn't know much more about, the environment.
Okay. So you did GSAT, grade 6 achievement test, right?
Right, yes.
Okay, and you said at that time you had 7 students graduating.
Yeah, it was like 7 to 9. So
That in and of itself speaks to how small the school really is.
Right. So it's a very small school, and and
okay, so
doing their best now to help the community out and make it get better.
And I guess being a small school, then it was like almost like a close-knit family.
Right. Yes. So it was, everyone knows everyone. So from grade 1 coming all up, it's one community. So you have people looking out for everyone. Just like you could have someone parent beat your butt on the way home, and then you get home and you get
the good old days, eh?
Right. So
the good old days.
So it takes a village to raise a kid. So
it's really like profound, hearing something like that coming from a young man like you, Richard, because it speaks to the principles with which you were raised.
Right.
Because you would find that a lot of young people now, they would take strong offense to somebody having scolded them or something like that when they were younger. But you yourself, you are reiterating the fact that it does take a village to raise a child. So tell me about having passed the GSAT, the grade 6 achievement test. When you heard you were going to Rossi's, share the moment.
It was overwhelming, because after getting older and getting grade 5, grade 6, now you start getting an understanding of what schools are, and you start having friends that left like a year or 2 before you that start going to these schools. So like when you see them, like if I go to the playfield, then I can start asking them questions about the environment and
what stick up in right there. When you go to the playfield, so what were you playing at that time? Cricket or football?
So most of the times it was cricket.
Okay.
When it was football, I used to sit back and watch, because I never used to play yet. I know my brother used to play, so my brother used to take me to the soccer field, and I used to just sit back and watch,
okay,
until I gradually start getting my feet wet.
Okay. So having gotten into Rossi's, and you said that was 2007, right?
Yes.
Okay, so having gotten into Rossi's,
right,
having passed the GSAT, and now you are continuing the family tradition where you are now making your older siblings proud because you are going to the Rossi's.
Right.
How was it for you going into grade 7? By the way, who was principal then when you were in grade 7?
2006. That was Miss Thompson's first year at Rossi's.
So Mrs. Mason was at the top campus.
Right. So when I just came to Rossi's, it was Miss Thompson's first year. So.
Oh yes. Okay.
Right.
Oh, and coincidentally, that was the year I got back from university too. So I got no. That was the year before I got back from university. So when I ended my study leave and came back, you would have been in grade 8. So go ahead. Tell us about life as you knew it then at Rossi's.
You have the basics of what they would call the Yankee Stadium, and
Tell us about the Yankee Stadium.
That was behind the was it the library, that building right by Fort Charlotte? That's where that's where most of us used to play soccer with bottles and stuff like that at break time.
So why was it called Yankee Stadium?
For some reason, I don't know.
Okay.
Yankees known for baseball, but
Okay.
I'm not sure. I came into the tradition and shared my experience with it.
Mhm.
But coming to Rusty's, it was different for me because remember, I was from Chambersburg, I was from in the country. So things change, for me, growing up, I basically grew up on a farm, you can say. So for me, it was time management because I had to wake up, I had to, what, 20, 30 goats. I had to take goats out, get goats tied, maybe go to the river or whatever and come back, get ready for school, and then, go and catch a cab. And then, I mean, when I get a cab to Lucy, I usually walk. If I get to Lucy early enough, I usually walk all the way around Church Street and go to school.
Mhm.
So because for me then it was all about saving money. I was thinking about
Okay.
money from those times. So and I used to enjoy the walk. So I
Mhm.
mean, getting into the school, it was new because you meet so much new people. So I was a bit nervous because you're coming from a school where it's 30 kids, and then you're in a class where you probably have 30 kids.
Yes,
So
I can
basically,
imagine.
I'm in a class which is basically my whole
Entire school.
entire
Mhm.
school, right? So so I think the sports is what you know kind of helped me open up myself, because as I said, I was a bit nervous. New environment, you know, a bit more strict surroundings. As I said, I was a bit nervous. So it was good. It was good. And then my aunt, I think she stopped teaching a year before I went to Receive. So she had good relationship with the teachers, and then from that, all the teachers knew who I was. So
Yes.
it kind of helped me.
Cementing the ideology that it does take a village to raise a child.
Right, right.
Mhm. So you got to grade 7 and you were in awe based on the fact that within one class you had your entire school,
Right.
former school. So at what point did you actually wet your feet in playing football?
So funny story. My first I remember going to PE classes. I think it was Mr. Jones that was my PE teacher at the time. And every time you go to PE class, he usually says that, hey, we have under 14 tryouts this day, so you can come out. So I took the opportunity. I think that day I went barefoot because I didn't even have a soccer shoes then.
Mm-hmm.
So I went barefoot. And I did what I could do. I did my best that day, and I did impress, and I got into the team. So after that, now I remember there was a haberdashery out at Keycliff, and I used to save
Mm-hmm.
from primary school. I used to save my 2020s. I remember they used to have some cheap soccer shoes, and at that time you couldn't tell me nothing because when I went and bought that shoes, I felt like I had the most expensive pair of shoes or the best quality, you know.
Yeah.
It gives you more urge when you made that purchase for yourself when it's
Awesome.
something you need. So after
I
doing that,
think that store was Larmon's, right?
yes, it was Larman's. Yep,
Larmon's,
right. I keep it.
right.
So
Yeah. You wouldn't know, but Larmon's used to be in the town of Lucy
I didn't know
on,
that. I
on the
just knew
one way.
Larman's. I just knew Larman's out there.
And then it moved to Keep Left. But it is important to note because you were in what grade at that point? Grade 7 or grade 8?
7.
Grade 7. And you at that time knew the importance of saving.
Right.
You knew what the philosophy of the one cocoa full basket meant.
And the thing is, the way I grew up, I I I was not like the kid that could just go and say, can I get $10?
Mhm.
I was the kid that had to go and do what, 5, 6 chores. I had to make sure the goats are fed. I have to make sure the cows are fed. The trash is out. And then, when it comes to sports day, you might get $200 and you're
Aw.
excited. So it's kind of like that, where it's not like today where kids just jump and get,
Mhm.
I had to earn it. So if I'm earning it, I have to try and stretch it as much as I could stretch it. So
Funny enough, Richard, the years you and I spent at Rossi's, because you would have graduated and left me there. I am happy for this interview because this is a side of you that I did not know. And
right, a lot of people don't know where I'm from or what I
I
did.
am
So
impressed.
a lot of people just know the soccer side of the football side of me,
Mhm.
per se. So
Okay, so you bought your first, so you see, you bought yourself your first pair of soccer shoes, football boots. We call it
right,
football in
right,
Jamaica,
yes,
football boots.
yes,
And so Mr. Jones at that time would have seen something in you during those PE classes.
right, yes.
So you made the team at your very first attempt?
I think yes, I think it was my first attempt, but there was other trials that you continue going because at that point you love the game so much you just want to go and play. You might have
Mhm.
made the team before, but you just want to, there's tryouts there, but you want to play some soccer or you want to play
So
some
even
sport.
though you would have gotten to be on the team, you still
Right.
went to other tryouts.
Right, yeah, because I mean most of us, or even some who were my teammates, they still wanted to go because it was such excitement after school to play some
Mm-hmm.
some football,
Yeah.
and and even through that time, I was fortunate to even was training with the Headley Cup team because I was
Oh.
at that time the cricketers used to come up every evening when there's not soccer. So I used to be out there. I used to just sit around and watch them until I slowly, they saw me, and then I just slowly start getting to mess around and start playing with the players out there.
So you were playing under 14 football and you were playing cricket at the same time?
I wasn't playing for the team, but I was training with them. I got the opportunity, but I didn't take it because at that time I was I was somewhat scared of the balls too because I that's my first time seeing those balls, and
The cricket
the
ball.
guys were big. It was guys from like Roydell and those guys.
Yes, I
So
remember Roy Del Moncrief played
right, so
cricket.
there wasn't
Yes.
much like 7 or 8 graders playing cricket, but I used to train with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my heart lays with the football.
With
So
the football.
right,
So you would have, like most of us, well, like most of us, would have spent 2 years at the Fort Charlotte campus.
right.
What was your most memorable moment for that campus? Who stood out the most for you whilst you were a student on that campus?
My most memorable like campus
Outside of the Yankee Stadium.
outside
Mhm.
of Yankee Stadium. My most memorable moment. Let me see.
If you have one, that is.
There is probably a lot. Outside of, I mean, in terms of soccer, football, um, my most memorable moment then was when we went to the under 14 finals. Um, Sorry, but we lost. But that was one of my memorable moment. But my most memorable moment was, what should I say? It would be more academically.
Okay,
Because
so
where I was coming from,
mhm,
it might have not been that advanced as other primary schools, or because my school was probably looked down on, based on where I'm from. um
yes.
but to come in from where I came from and adapt to the principles of the school and the education, and was able to perform well, I think that was memorable for me because basically now competing with school kids from Westmoreland, Hanover, Montego Bay, so
Yes.
for me it was growing as a young adult, and grasping what I could as fast as I can.
Okay. So you had fun times. You went to the under 14 finals. And as you said, that's a defining moment, even though we never won. And then you moved on to what we call the Big People Campus, Campus One.
Right.
Tell me about, share with us your experience moving from the little people school to the big school.
Right. So it was just like moving from all age to the Fort Charlotte campus, because now when you're in 7th grade and 8th grade, and then after school or before school, you start seeing the older kids. You start thinking of like, somewhat of going to a different school now. So now you're the new kid on the block again. So but I think through, and for me, I would use football as my language, as my way to communicate. So through football, that kind of helped me when I got there, because persons know me. I know persons.
Okay.
I knew players that played. I knew players that played cricket. And I think before ninth grade, I think I went to the Costa Cup camp that summer. So I get to meet a lot of the players, and get to have a feel of what the campus will be like. So for me, coming down there, it was good. So it wasn't as nervous as my first time going into the institution, but it was definitely better than the first.
Okay, so tell us about D Cup. So you would have transitioned from under 14 to
So,
D Cup. Share with us that
so,
experience, how it
so
all happened.
before D Cup, I spent a year with under 16.
Oh, okay.
So I spent a year with under 16 with Mr. Phyllis, and then for D Cup, it was actually one of my uncle that's a barber in Lucy. He was good friends with the coach, and one day I was just by him, and he's like, he called the coach and said, "Hey, I have a player for you. I'm gonna send my nephew down there." So I nervous from the country, never gone to like a camp or anything. So packed my bags, told my grandma, "Hey, I'm going to the soccer camp," and I showed up. I started out as a left back. Most people don't know, but my playing career was a left back until I converted into a keeper when I reached the Costa Cup.
We are not ready to touch on the keeper part yet.
Right.
We're saving that.
Right. So it was through my uncle, and I spent a year with the team, and I trained and unfortunately I was probably too young, because there were so much more players that needed opportunity, and players that there's only such 30 players, 20 to 30, 22 to 30 players that can make a list. So I did my time at under 16, and I played there, and then the next year it was D Cup, the Costa Cup camp. I remember at camp, and one of the goalkeepers got injured. Remember, I was a left back.
Who was the keeper then?
So at that moment, it was Lamoy Graham.
Oh, Graham, Lamoy
Right.
Graham.
So it was Lamoy Graham, and who was the other goalkeeper? The other goalkeeper was from Sandy Bay. They call him Rice Man. I don't remember his name. So while we were playing, one of the goalkeepers got injured, and Mr. Henry said, "Hey, someone just go stand in the goal." So I just went and stand in the goal. But
that's
prior
Mr.
to
Henry.
right,
He just said someone go stand in the goal.
right, because the goalkeeper got injured. So he said, someone go stand in the goal. And so I went into the goal, and I made some great saves throughout the rest of practice. And he looked at me and said, "Big man, when you come back at training today, you better have a gloves." So I took that as a joke, because I was just standing in the goal because of an injury, So after we went over to school and rest up and came back for practice, I came back ready to play left back. I was like, "Big man, where I do? I tell you, say, I go later today." I go later, So
it's like Mr. Henry, all right.
Right. So it convinced me, and I was like, all right, I went into the goal.
So it was an act of fate then that you became a goalkeeper.
Right.
So it's not even a case that it was something you had tried out for.
Right. So it's not something that I was prepared for, something that I've like, this is what I'm destined for. It just happened that one guy got injured. I went in the goal, and then, I got stuck in there. Because at the moment too, now I became nervous because I was in the national program playing left back.
That's the under 16 national program?
The under 14 national program at the time.
Okay.
So at that time, I was in the national program as a left back. And so at that point too, I was thinking, how is this gonna work out? I'm keeping, but I'm currently in the program as a left back.
Okay.
Under 15. Right. So, but I stuck through it, and I think if it wasn't for that change of position, I probably wouldn't be where I am today.
That defining moment when Mr. Henry saw something in you, Diggy Henry, saw something in you that you didn't even know you possessed.
Right. Because growing up, like when you were playing, you're in the goal, and whoever scores, you switch out. So I was doing all those little things growing up. So I might have had the talent, but I never, I wasn't looking at goalkeeping. And what the actions he took kind of made made me into who I am. So it's always good to sometimes be able to leave your comfort zone.
If I should ask you then, who has had the most impact on you as a sportsman? Who would you say?
The most impact on me as a sports person. From what age? From on the Costa Cup?
Because as a sports person, I am factoring your experiences playing football. Do you still play football, by the way?
Occasionally. I mostly do coaching right now, goalkeeping coaching. So I currently work with former reggae boy, Ryan Thompson. He just retired from the national team. So he has a goalkeeping academy, which I'm a director of. So me and him and a few other coaches, we do goalkeeping specific training for college, high school.
That's awesome.
Kids growing up. Yeah. So it's.
And let me ask you a question. When you left Brosis, you migrated to the States?
No, I got a scholarship. So how this came about, I think that God is just on my side. So when I did my first year of sixth form, right? When I finished at that period of time, my mom lost her job. So I was there. I was like, you know what? Because after I went to the Under-17 World Cup, that's 2011 when I played for the national team in Mexico.
Pause right there, Richard. Could you just backtrack there? Because I don't think, you see, a lot of persons would have heard the name Richard Trench,
Right.
not knowing who Richard Trench is. Yes, you are a household name in Lucy. I know that in Hanover.
Right.
But you're now saying something about national team. Could you just backtrack a little, rewind?
Okay, yes.
Mm.
So for those watching and the proud Russians, so I played the Costa Cup from 2009 to 2012, you know, and between that time we won two Da Costa Cup titles, 2010, 2011. So and for who don't know, we're probably the only team to have gone what 4 years without losing a Da Costa Cup game. So the only Da Costa Cup game we lost from 2009 was when we lost the Mannings in 2012. So we've gone 4 years
The
without
good old
losing.
days.
Right. So the national team is another interesting topic because you play D Cup, and then under 17 comes up, and it's most of as most people know, if you're from the country, your chances of making the national team is slim.
Slim, yeah.
Very slim, you know,
Mhm.
and most of the teams we play, like in Oliver Shield, like St. George's, most of those players were in the national team. So I remember one day, I was walking to go see my friend, and I got a call from Mr. Henry. I was like, "Where are you right now?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just walking to meet a friend." And he's like, "Guess what? Turn around, go home, call this number." And so I went and called, and I got in touch with JFF. Um, it was like a Tuesday. I got in touch with JFF, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna need you to go to Brazil because there was a training camp in Brazil." So they're like, "Yes, we're gonna need you know, to come in for a camp. We're gonna fly you to Brazil to train because the two keepers in Brazil got an injury." So it
Ooh,
looks like injury. People getting injured is on my side,
that's
basically.
your way. That's your
So
way to demonstrate your skill, what you're made of.
right. So sometimes you only get acknowledged when something goes bad. You
Mm.
know, so
You've hold on. Have you ever heard the saying, Richard? A man has to fall so that another one can rise.
right, right.
Yes.
So both goalkeepers in Brazil got injured. So I guess from my experience and from playing the Costa Cup, you know, they reached out to me like the Tuesday, and I think the Friday or the Thursday or the Friday I was on a plane to Brazil, my first ever plane ride. You know, and that came within, what, 2 days, you know. So that was like, oh my gosh, you know, that was like a relief, you know, like at that point I was like, I can make something out of this, you
Yes.
know.
And how long you stayed with the national team?
So I stayed with the national team. I was still in the program from under 15. Because I remember one time I went to the camp and I was so confused when I went to the camp because I don't know what I'm doing at the camp, if I'm playing left back or I'm a
Or
goalkeeper.
goalkeeper?
So at that time, I was probably the only player in the national team that was at two positions in the national program at the same time. So after that, I went to Brazil, um, did the training camp there, came back, and then we prepared for the CONCACAF Championship that held in Montego Bay that year. That was the qualifying round for the World Cup, in which we qualified, and then, you know, it was off to Mexico in the summer. You know, it was like when you were sitting, when we're sitting in that room waiting on our name to be called. You know, it was, you know, a dream come true. You know, playing in a World Cup, something that a lot of players don't get to do. You know, something that can push your career further, even more than just soccer. You know,
That
um,
is
so
true. So in very short order, without you even planning on it happening, you went from just being a homegrown Jamaican boy to going to Brazil, then to Mexico.
Within what, 6 months? Yes.
Within 6 months.
So within 6 months, you know, I'm at a World Cup, and like for a lot of people, that's what happens. Even in the workplace, you know, you don't know when your opportunity is gonna come.
It's going to come.
You know, the door is just open right there. You don't know what can happen.
Yes.
So I did that, and then, you know, came back and played the last year of D Cup. And then I was still with the program, because even after I came to college here, I went back to play Olympic qualifiers with the national team. So
that's good.
So I was still in the system from under 15, under 17 up until, you know, U23. So it was probably a good 8 years in the program, or about 10, because from
Migo.
Right, Brian Brown.
Yes. You were goalkeeper during his time, innit?
Right, yes.
And I know a lot of persons would have known about Brian Brown being with the national team and all of that.
Right.
But it is interesting now to know that he was not the only one at that time who had affiliations with the national team.
So Anthony Walker too.
Yes, he went to Puff. I remember.
He went to the World Cup with me as well. So he did, you know, he did get that opportunity. And there was other players that was in the program, but circumstances, they never, you know, went further barrier, but they were still thought of just in case. And just like how I got in, at any moment, you know,
something can go wrong.
Their number could call, you know. And it's a great thing. Brosis has built a lot of, you know, homegrown, a lot of talent. Because I remember going to camp, like I'm at the national camp, and there's guys asking me about Damain, like asking me about players that have gone to Brosis, you know, who have played for the program. And, you know, it's good to know that we have so much talent that came out of the school. So back to all right.
So would you say then that those mornings when you would get up and you have to, what do you say, you had like 20 goats and all of those things to
right.
How do you think that experience, those experiences that you had as a child, helped to prepare you for everything, all the opportunities that came your way whilst still a student, managing your academics and all of that?
It's fascinating, because I still think about, even today, I still think about, you know, having a farm, and just those days that I have where, you know, it could be a business. So you're looking after your business, you know, and you're gonna try to do everything to make your business succeed. So it was I was a kid, so I might have times where I'm like, you know, man, I don't want to do this today, but, you know, I'm obligated to it, you know, because in the end, they're basically mine, you know. If you will, you know, my granddad might have bought them, but in his eyes, they're mine, you know. So he's basically looking out for the next generation. So for me, it's really interesting, because a lot of people will look at it like it can't teach you nothing, you know. And for me, it's discipline, because in order for me to come home from high school and say I want to go, and say, Grandma, I want to go to the soccer field or the football field, the number one priority is taking care of what needs to be done at home.
Yes.
You know, so I have to come home from school, go back to the bush, get the goats, you know, and through that scenario, no, I'll be running, because I want, you know, because the time is getting dark, and no matter what, you want to go to the field. So it gives you the drive to get something done. You know? And I think for me, it's it aids in every part of development in terms of
Yes,
business, being knowledgeable. The same way you take care of your animals, it's the same way someone who gives you a job wants you to take care of the business. So
exactly.
it's teaching you life lessons and life skills as you go along.
I'm sure your mommy must be very proud of you because hearing a young, how old are you, Richard?
20, 26, 27 in 2 months.
In 2 months. Happy birthday when it comes.
Thank you.
Hearing a young man at 26, 27,
Right.
speaking the way you speak, you don't look at the things that you would have gone through as hardship.
Right,
You
because I
still see
enjoyed
those
it.
as building blocks.
Right, I enjoyed it. So you wouldn't. I mean, if you take a kid in that time, if you take a kid from Lucy and put him in the country, now he feels lost. And at that point, it's I loved it. So it wasn't more of a chore. Sorry, it was more of something you enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, so you said earlier that you are still in the sports business. You're an assistant coach with Ryan Thompson.
right, yes, Ryan Thompson.
Okay, so is that your job or do you have a regular 9 to 5?
So right now I have basically a regular 9 to 5. So I work in operations at FedEx. So I work at FedEx on the side. I do trading.
Mm-hmm.
And then other than that, I buy and sell. So basically I'm a hustler, but not in a negative way. I'm a hustler who try to make, you know, money on legal terms.
Through
So
legal channels.
right. So at this moment,
Typical Jamaican.
so,
Yeah,
so
we
right,
don't like sitting down.
right. So I invest in stocks and I mean cryptocurrency, which is coming up now. A lot of people might hear about it. I sell sports goods, where I'll go to thrift stores and stuff like that and buy and sell, which is a big demand. And I work at FedEx. So it's you
I
know it's if you want financial freedom, you have to have more than one means of income.
there is somebody in Rasis Brosis that I am going to have you contacting Andel because he's high on that. And it's just the other day, as on the platform, we were talking about the same thing about young people now moving forward, investing in stocks. I mean, our
Right.
parents, even my generation, we were not as forward thinking as you guys are. That's
And,
amazing.
and let me tell you a quick story. I remember the thing. Sometimes the thing is knowledge and education. Because I remember when I was younger, seventh, eighth grade or ninth grade, and I used to come home and I used to watch a TV, and around 5 o'clock, JIS would come on TV, and they usually bring on these stocks thing like, today Carib Cement lost, today,
Yes,
and
I
so,
remember those
I,
days.
and I used to turn the TV off because I thought of those things as not interesting to me because it's not helping me.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I never had the education to know that, that is the performance of a company, or that is something you can get involved in and make yourself money, or become part of a project,
Mm-hmm.
because so for me, if I knew then, what I know now about, stock market and stuff like that, I'd have probably, be a millionaire by now, for some, but the education wasn't there for me, and it's not something that is taught much,
Yes, you're
not
right.
even in America, it's not really taught
Mm-hmm.
because for some reason it's like they don't want,
You see, one of the things you need
grassroots.
to realize, Richard,
Right.
there are certain secrets to particular trade. Because imagine if everybody learned the secret of investment and all of that.
Right,
We wouldn't have any laborers.
Right, because the
So
thing is, someone wants to be in control.
yes, so you have to channel the information so that only a fortunate few get it. I mean, it's just how life is.
Right, you go to school and you're teach to work for someone.
Yeah.
You need to get a degree to work for this guy. You know, they don't say entrepreneurship here. You can start your own business, but if you get this degree, you can go work for that guy. You know, so through that, you know, I was like, you know, I don't want to be working for someone for the rest of my life. You know,
I'm going to quote something. I may be misquoting. Somebody who knows it can correct me. But there's this book. The person who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad wrote this book.
So I actually just bought that book like
which one? Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like a week ago. So
there's another one. I think it is Why the A student work for the C student and the B student work for the government.
Right. He has a few more books that I'll be checking out, but yeah, it's a very interesting book.
Yeah. I love the way you think, and this is telling me that years to come, I can when I'm in my rocking chair, when I hear the name Richard Trench, I am going to just feel this overwhelming sense of pride, and I know that person. I'm proud of you, Richard. Okay, moving on. So, I think you had told me a while back that you're a father.
Yes.
How is fatherhood?
It's pretty good. A lot of challenges, but it's pretty good. The youngest, his birthday is actually the first. Coming.
You said youngest.
So I have stepkids as well.
Okay.
So my firstborn is actually turning 1 on Friday. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, that's near your birthday.
Yep, it is. So it's very exciting. It's also part of what drives you. You have something to.
You have anticipated my next question.
Something that depends on you. Something that you have to make sure you leave a better future for them.
That's awesome.
Because with how the world is going and climate change and all of that, it's we have to try and do what we can, so they can enjoy their life as well.
I sit here and I listen to you, and I just can't believe this is the same Richard I knew back at Rossi's.
Right.
I am sure, well, I had sent the link to Mr. Fiddis, Mr. Hibbert, and I don't know who you sent it to, so they could, some other guys from Rossi, so they could pop in on the interview. But I am sure the Richard that I am getting now, I am really proud of who you are. Now, away from sports and all of that for a while.
Right.
So, as an individual, if you were to name one moment, one defining moment in your life, just one defining moment that has shaped you to think the way you think, to be who you are, what would that one moment be? And there's going to be a follow-up of who would have had the most impact on who and what you are.
So I would say, for me, most impact on who I am, I think it's more, it'll rely on my grandparents.
Okay.
Because growing up, I spent most of, my mom was around, my dad was around until he passed in 2007. But you know, my grandma and my grandfather, they taught me everything, you know, I needed to know, you know. And if you have a mom and your mom told you that, you know, if I'm on my dying bed and your grandma needs something, hey, you have to take care of her because she was there for you. So,
Mhm.
you know, so my grandma and my granddad, you know, they are the ones that have really pushed me, you know. They might not do it physically or you know, but mentally, how I grew up and
Mhm.
you know the structure that I have to follow, stuff like that, you know, that kind of mold, you know, who I am. So
Okay, so there are some persons who are chiming in. Alfred Reed is asking if you're still playing football. I think I asked you that earlier. You still do, but not professionally.
I don't do professionally, but I still do. And I also play with a past student. He played like way back in probably '85. His name, I know Roxroy. I know him as Roxroy. He lives in Tampa here. He was the one, even before you reach out to me about Brosis, he was the one that told me about Brosis like one
Mhm.
week ago. You know, and
A
then
week, yeah, I remember you said
right. So like
a
a
week
week
before
ago,
I
he's like,
spoke to you, he had spoken to you.
so a week ago, he's like, "Hey man, hey, you have to join Brosis, man. They're planning some big things for overseas, and you know, and then like a week after, you reached out to me about it. So,
Mhm.
um, so I play soccer with those guys on Saturdays, most Saturdays. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So you said you're your firstborn. Is it a boy or a girl?
oh boy.
So, do you have any plans for your son to become a sportsman like yourself?
So I don't want to limit him. I would love for him to play football. You know, I have videos of him kicking the ball already, so it makes me excited. But you know, in America, sports is it's at a different level. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there is what probably 10 different sports. You know, compared to Jamaica, where the most dominant sport is cricket, football, track and field.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm not gonna limit him. You know, I'll try steer him in that direction of football, but if it's not his calling, you know, anything that makes him happy.
Exactly.
So that's the goal. I'm not gonna force anything on him, because you force it on him, and then you know you're trying to have him, you know, make you feel good, but inside he's feeling bad because it's not
Yes,
what he
because he would be living your dream
right and
rather
not
than
his
living
dream.
his
Correct,
dream.
correct. So I don't want to, you know, lead him into anything. So when his time come and he decides, then you know we'll go from there.
You know, I am sure the members on the platform who are tuned into this interview, they are as much in awe as I am. You sound far too mature for your age, Richard. A 26-year-old should not be filled with so much wisdom.
Right, but the thing is, as you know, and a big part of that is me coming to America. You know,
Mm-hmm.
coming to college and you having no one to rely on. You know, so coming to college having no one to rely on, that's where no, you have to, you know, kick in your survival mode. You have to
Mm-hmm.
find
Mm-hmm.
ways, you have to find your ways of surviving, you know, and I think me being by myself, starting out like where I was in South Carolina, me being by myself, then it has aided in me, you know, growing and becoming
Who
more
you are.
educated and more knowledgeable of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that. I love that. Okay, so you said you had gotten a scholarship
right.
um, and you were in South Carolina, because I remember a few years back you met up with my daughters
Yeah, yeah, I went to
and all of that.
right.
So how long did you study here? And
Uh,
what did you major in?
all right, so when I left for C's in 2014, thanks to Aaron Lawrence, also a
Wild boy.
past student,
Mhm.
when he came in, because at that point I quit soccer, because as I was saying, my first year of sixth form, when I was finished, my mom lost her job. So,
Mhm.
I didn't have the money to pay for it. The second year, I was like, you know what, finish. So I was in the grill, got me a job at Couples, and then, I got a feedback. Someone said, hey, we'll pay for it for you. Come back to school. So I came back to school and
That's upper six. You came back to upper six.
upper six, right.
Mhm.
And that year, Mr. Right came.
Mhm.
Mr. Hyde came, and I remember I was under the tuck shop one day, and he came to me and said, would you be? Because the thing is, after I came back from the World Cup,
Mhm.
I had no one assisting me, like how the kids in Kingston would be like. They have, not say
The
agents, but people that aid in,
corporate
right, people
businesses
that
would.
will help them.
Mhm.
I came back and I knew nothing about the American system. So I'm on the computer. I'm just out there. I probably emailed 50 universities, trying to get something, because my thought is that, hey, I went to World Cup, something must be there for me,
Mhm. Mhm.
but there's a saying, it's not who you know, it's who knows
Who
you.
knows you? Mhm.
Because you can know so many people, but if they don't know you, you can't get an opportunity.
No doors will open.
So,
Mhm.
so after all my research and my work, nothing was done. And, I was like, just one day under the tuck shop, Mr. Wright said, hey, would you be interested in an opportunity? And I was like, what could this be? And then he had me talk to Aaron Lawrence, and Aaron
Because
Lawrence,
Aaron was the coach at that time.
he just came, yes.
Oh,
So
he had just come.
he was just coming into the program as a coach,
Okay.
and
Mhm.
he had, while he was at Manning's, he had some players at Manning's that went up to the same university I went. So that opportunity came through him, and I took that opportunity. I went to college there. It was a 2-year college, University of South Carolina.
Oh,
Um,
USC. Mhm.
Yes, yes.
Gamecocks.
So right. So I went to. They have 7 campuses. So I went to one of the smaller campus.
Okay.
So while I was there, I got an associate degree, in arts, and um, then again, the point of, it's not who you know, it's who know
Who
you.
knows you? Mhm.
After my second year, it's like I'm now looking for another college, because you have to move on. So now I'm out there. I'm looking for scholarships. I can't find no school. And one day I just got a phone call, and it was my coach from the University of Tampa, and he was like, hey, the same Ryan Thompson I told you about. Never
Mhm.
met this guy, don't know who he is,
Mhm.
never seen the guy before. Got a call from the university. They say, hey, how you doing? We're interested in your talent. We can fly you out tomorrow to come check the school out.
Richard, you are blessed. You
Right.
are blessed.
I
You
have to
are
be.
blessed.
You have to be.
Yes.
So got a call. They're like, can you fly tomorrow? Come check the school out. I was like, sure. Boom. Got on a flight, went to Tampa. They told me all about Ryan. Ryan used to go to the same university. Um, and from there, I got an academic scholarship and a athletic scholarship. So
Awesome.
um, I was fortunate to finish college with no debt.
No
So
debts.
sports can go a long way,
I
you
tell
know,
you,
but
you are
but
blessed,
but
Richard.
but it takes academics as well, because if I didn't have the
Yes.
academics, I would probably be paying a lot of money too. But it's just blessings. You don't know where it's coming from. Like, you know, um, people reach that. That's the point where people are watching. You don't know who's watching.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't know
Mm-hmm.
who's watching.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I can get a call that, hey, we're interested in you, that means someone was watching.
Yes. So
And
you always have
yes,
to
so you
put out your
always have
best
to,
game.
right. and it's not even just in sports. It's just in everyday life. You know, your attitude tells a lot to a person. And
Yes.
you know, for me, I was grateful. I was grateful for that opportunity. Then I went to the University of Tampa, played 2 years there, and graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in sport management.
Nice.
So graduated. I know I work, you know, I started out working in sports. I worked for a company called Signature Lacrosse, manufacture and sell lacrosse equipment. So I was a director of operations. So, because when I came, even in Jamaica, when you hear about sport management,
Mm-hmm.
back then I think about what, two jobs, you know, a coach or a physical trainer. You know,
Yes.
when you come to America, you find out
Much wider.
it's more than that. You know, it's more than just the game. It's entertainment. It's manufacturing. It's operations. Like once you
Mm-hmm.
get in there, you figure out the background, what goes
Okay.
on in the background of making an event successful, and that's what I fell in love with. So from now from I started working in operations because I like to, you know, see
Mm-hmm.
success stories. I like to get things done. So I base my job experience and working around operations.
Okay. I see Richard Trench as a success story. Now, has it ever crossed your mind about giving back, and how would you give back, and what are some ways in which you could give back?
So to give back, you know, I'm here and I've been making a lot of plans and, you know, things for back home. I was also, you know, hoping in the future make plans for the soccer field at Russies and then I know there's a KCJC Sports Talk, and I've heard them mention that, you know, working on that project. And, you know, I think it's not just sports, but academically, I
Mm-hmm.
want to give back to the community, not just the school, but to Hanover itself, you know, which embraces the school. Um, and, you know, I'm thinking about starting a charity. I've been thinking about starting a charity, but not being able to be in Jamaica and, you know, start processes and put things in place.
Okay,
But I'm currently working on things behind the scenes.
so Trench, I'm
Yes.
going to poke some holes into your plans right here.
Right.
Rasis Brosis, this very proud organization of which I'm a proud member.
Right.
We are a charity foundation. And I would love to use this opportunity. I know that you said Roxroy, I had spoken to you about it. In your desire to give back, I would love if you could come over, join us here at Brosis in an effort to give back. We have already set the foundation.
Right.
I know the Richard Trench Foundation would take a little while to be established, but
Right.
together we can do so much more. And
Right.
it's important that you spoke about sports talk with JC and KC. Each Thursday night we have our sports talk and with JC and KC, and on Tuesdays we have our empowerment night. And I know a lot of persons are not aware. We also have our academic side. We have our Learning Together program. We have math on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and we have English on Wednesday. Now, this is an organization that we endeavor not just to target athletics, because
Right.
yes, we have our plans to work on the Colin Miller Sports Complex, but we have given Races its own domain where every student at Races now have like a Dawes at Races.
Right.
In addition, you know how long we have been, while we were at Races, how long we have been yearning for a website.
Right,
We
right.
have a website now. It's still a work in progress, but it is going. Right. And in your desire to give back, I'm inviting you to come on board. Right. Now, I know we have been talking for more than an hour, but before you go, let me ask you, to the young people coming up today, because you have lived you know what it is to be a Jamaican. Because when you talk about getting up to tie out goat and everything, not many Jamaican children can relate to this.
Right.
Yes, people will say you're a country boy. Yes, you're a country boy. The country boy make you who you be now. Right. Let me just chip into a little patwa there.
Right.
It is the country in you that has made you who you are, the values that you now possess. For the young people coming up, students and those who have dreams of going further, what words of wisdom would you pass on?
I mean, so there's a lot you can pass on, but let me just say, to put it in one word, just be greedy. I remember when I used to, because I'm somewhat a shy person, I used to sit back and wait for things to happen. Mm-hmm. I used to sit back and hope it happens. And right now, if you sit back and wait for something to happen, it's not gonna happen. Because when you were growing up, they're like, wait your turn. Maybe back then it's wait your turn, but with how technology is growing, there's no time to wait your turn. You have to go out there now, and you have to grind for what you want. In Jamaica, it might seem simple, but for a country like America, if you ever want to be in America, it's a hustle.
It's a hustle.
It's a grind.
Anything is possible.
I know so many people that think you're in America. It's beyond your wildest dream. But hey, sometimes I wish I was home. Because when I'm home, I don't have to pay for a breadfruit. You can walk outside. Here, you have to do so much more. Because they're in such a larger market. But to speak to them, it's just passion, attitude. I remember when I was growing up, I was told to carry myself a certain way. Mm-hmm. People can judge you from how you look.
That is so true.
And, I remember when this tight pants thing started coming into play. Even kids that were, well behaved and educated kids, they start following that loophole. And you have to try and be a leader. You can't try and be a follower.
You remember the struggles we had at Races with the tight pants?
I mean, you can follow some persons, but who are you following? But as you grow, you have to try, force yourself to becoming a leader. Even if you're working for someone or under someone, in what you do, be a leader in what you do. And that will aid in becoming a better person.
Awesome.
So for me, it's been great.
Richard Trench, it has been a pleasure, immense pleasure speaking to you, because although, again, I am going to say it, and Miss Shippy is saying hello.
Hi, Miss Shippy.
Yes. Melissa Smith and other members of Brosis. As I said earlier, even though you would have been that student who I would have interacted with whilst the teacher at Races.
Right.
sitting, having this conversation. And for me, as I told you, we're just going to be talking. I want to get to know Richard. This was not supposed to be an interview. So we have chatted, and I have gotten a better understanding of Richard. I know what drives Richard. And I'm sure the persons on the platform who would have maybe just say, oh, this is just a Rossi's past student who would have played sports.
Right.
Now see that in my book, you are a man, because you have epitomized what a real Black man is supposed to be. I have sat here and I've heard you speak about the legacy you want to leave for your children. I've heard you at 26 speaking about your stepchildren. Hats off to you, Richard.
Right.
You're a proud Jamaican Black man. Now, my offer still stands. And okay. I as I said before, we at Brosis, the door has opened. It is not opening, it is already open for you to come on board.
Right.
In addition, the fact that you invest in cryptocurrency and things like those, there is also another member on the platform who I'm gonna have you talk to him so you can continue being that person who wants to leave a legacy, not just for yourself, your family, but also, as you said, Rossi's and Hanover. Thank you, Richard. Thank you to all the persons who tuned in tonight. And remember, each Tuesday night, we have our empowerment night. You don't know who you are going to meet on a Tuesday night. So feel free to join us. On a Thursday night, we have our sports talk with JC and KC. And our learning platform is on Tuesdays and Tuesday, Thursday, and Wednesdays. This is Dawes, your host for the night, signing out. Thank you. Thank you again, Richard.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.